In this episode of the Neil Wilkins Podcast, I'm joined by Michael Baker to discuss building online reputation. We're going to hear from Michael in just a moment, but he is described as from rockstar to entrepreneur, understanding what it takes to help your business be found, liked, and trusted. So this should be a very valuable conversation for all of us, including me, because I'm looking to be found, liked, and trusted in my online profile. Welcome to the podcast, Michael.
Thank you, Neil. I appreciate you having me on.
And we're going to start somewhere which isn't actually on that topic, because just prior to pressing record button here today, we were discussing actually your very, very nomadic lifestyle. And you can end up anywhere for these kinds of the conversations, can't you? Whereabouts are you right now?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So we are, yesterday, we currently got into Minnesota. Oh, I'm sorry. No, we are back. See, shows you how much we travel. We are in Wisconsin. So we are in Wisconsin Dells, Wisconsin, which fun little note about Wisconsin Dells. It is the water park capital of the world. Who would have knew?
Who knew that? Brilliant. But Minnesota yesterday, California the day before, Florida the day before that. It feels like this is not a normal kind of business lifestyle.
Yeah, no. So, do you want to hear the story of how we ended up in Wisconsin Dells in September of 2023?
Definitely.
Yeah. So kind of part of my story is prior to starting my own marketing firm, I worked for two tech companies, and I was actually their director of business development for those tech firms. I didn't actually handle their marketing in the sense that that wasn't my job, but I actually did do all of their marketing because they didn't have anybody doing it. And I knew the value of marketing, right? A lot of people use the term sales and marketing. It kind of goes hand in hand. Well, when we came out of the COVID big shutdowns and everything, the last tech company I was with, we parted ways. And that's when I decided how much I really enjoyed marketing and decided to start my own marketing firm. Well, once we did that, my wife and I have always homeschooled our kids, and I was always working from home as it was, pretty much. But once we did that, that really opened up this possibility. And we had some friends that had traveled full time. And then we had some more friends that started traveling full time. And we had kind of talked through a lot of the stuff that had been happening. We had talked about potential of us doing it one day. And then once I started my own marketing firm and realized I could really work from anywhere, we just basically had the conversation of, what if that one day doesn't happen? What if the way that life happens doesn't allow us to travel and do the things that we want to do? And the kids were in a good age where they weren't so young that putting them in a car and traveling was going to be super rough. And they weren't so old where we were yanking them out of like where they were into, really deep into sports or teams and things like that. And so it was just perfect timing. And so we ended up my businesses just outside of Nashville and Hendersonville, Tennessee. So we lived just outside of Nashville, but we sold everything that we had, everything that except that would fit into a 10 by 10 little storage unit. And we bought a big fifth wheel that's a little over 40 feet. And we hit the road. My wife is by nature a vacation planner. She actually does that on the side and helps people book Disney and Universal vacations. So she was already planning, and she basically had everything planned out of where we were going to go for the whole trip for the last 16 months. So we have been in, this is our 35th state in about 16 months. And we're going to start, we're here for a week, and then we're going to start heading south because it's fall and it's getting cold. And so we're going to get south before it gets too cold.
Wow, this is so inspiring, I guess, for a lot of people who have that sort of pipe dream but never actually do it. And you're sort of living evidence and actually practicing evidence right here, right now, that it is possible. A lot of people, I guess, have been working hybrid even pre-pandemic that you mentioned, but to actually kind of take that leap of faith and realize that, all the things, I guess, that we learned when, the world was locked down and when we were all going through that huge transition and rather strange social experience that was the pandemic, that actually coming out the other side, there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to kind of really appreciate and celebrate, I guess. And yeah, it's just really interesting. I mean, have you always been a sort of a pioneer kind of creative kind of person? Because this feels like it kind of requires thinking outside of the box, being a little bit sort of out there with the just mindset.
Yeah, I have. So up until I was 6 years old, my family and another family actually toured the country as a Christian singing group. And so up until I was 6 years old, and then my parents realized there was absolutely no money in the music business. And so they quit all of that and moved to Florida. And I grew up in Florida, but coming straight out of school, I wasn't the person that was, I wasn't the school person. So going to college for me didn't seem like an option. I just didn't find any desire in that. And I immediately started chasing my musical career, even though my parents warned me over and over. But they supported me, and I actually have had two very successful bands, is about as successful as you can get without being signed to an actual national major record label. But my most recent band is still signed to a record label, and we don't tour, but we still put out music. And so creativity and doing things a little bit different, and not following the system of you have to do this and you have to do it in this way, and kind of bucking the trend and not wanting to be a cog has kind of always been in my nature. I kind of just do things a little bit differently. I think a little bit differently. My wife finds it very interesting. Like if everything is super, super quiet while I'm trying to work, it actually it's very hard for me to concentrate. My brain starts going in a million directions. So I put on music while I work, and it actually helps me get hyper focused. So it's almost like if I distract this one side of my brain, then the brain that needs to do what it needs to do can just get super hyper focused. And she's the opposite. She needs to be perfectly quiet whenever she does stuff. So, but yeah, I've always had a little creativity in me ever since I was born.
And I guess, I mean, we're going to obviously get deep into the whole, brand reputation, online reputation, as we go through this conversation. But I'm guessing there must be an element here of, obviously you have this passion project, which obviously is your music, which, I've seen the numbers, is successful. And we'll probably, if you're up for this, with Fall of Envy, actually, put some links into the description below for people to kind of have a little listen, which would be interesting, I think, for a lot of the people in the audience. But I'm guessing with that, and obviously running your own marketing business, obviously your wife's business as well, and the traveling, this really is kind of wearing multiple hats, isn't it? Which I guess is akin to what a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, startups also need to do. How do you kind of manage this as focus? Because I guess it could be very easy to kind of get swept along by the traveling and almost like forget that, oh, I've got a business to run, or yeah, we've got some music to record, oh yeah, I've got to get in the studio, and then I forget to do the traveling. How do you do this juggling? Because it feels like it's quite complex.
Yeah, to be very honest with you, I am still learning. There's a lot of times where I'm still trying to figure out exactly the best way to do it, and I feel like I'm getting a lot better. But a lot of it is as well as because of the lifestyle of understanding that, and letting the wife and the kids understand as well that, like, hey, if we're traveling all day on let's say a Tuesday, then I'm going to have to work that night, or I'm going to have to work. I got to get up super early. And I usually wake up a couple hours before everybody else and get things done. That way I don't miss out on the beautiful hikes and the scenery as well when they're wanting to get out and do things. But I'm still learning. I'm reading several books about how to block your time. But I think one of the other things that does help me a lot is, I don't know if you've heard of a book called Who Not How. Pretty popular book. But the whole premise of that book is to understand that you don't have to figure out how to do everything. It's finding the right who's. And so I've been able to do that. I've got a great team. I've got a lot of great people that are part of my agency that I can lean on. And so when I am traveling on a Tuesday and doing those types of things, I don't feel like the business is completely failing or there's any type of lack of follow-up with any clients if there's any issues. But it is taking a lot of learning, and I'm reading just finished another book about how to time block. And so that way I can make sure that I'm putting in priority items and things that need to be knocked out that are top concerns, and then let everything else kind of fill in. There's lots of ways of saying that, the rocks, I'm sure you've heard that too, about doing the big rocks before you handle the little rocks and all of those things. So
yeah, and I guess once you're on that journey, I mean, I think we're all trying to figure this out. I'm relatively good at it, but I know every time somebody shares a new model with me, I'm thinking, oh, actually, that's quite smart. Yeah, I'm going to give that a go too. So, I know that I'm still on the journey of this kind of consumption of time, which is, one of the biggest challenges, I guess, all of us have professionally and personally. But I'm guessing when it comes on to things like, creating content, being a media and content production sort of business and person, as you are, I'm guessing these are big opportunities for lots of different styles of storytelling as well, because you have so many facets to your life, both professionally and personally, that must open up a huge range of opportunities to kind of be sharing. Obviously some stuff you want to keep personal and private, but pretty much everything else surely has to be open for an opportunity to share. Is that how you find it?
As far as how I find business for perception, yeah, there's that absolutely. So having conversations and going on podcasts and just traveling around, you're meeting a lot of very interesting people. And it's amazing. Before we started doing this, I'd always knew that there were people that did this full time as well. But there are a lot of people that travel full time that own their own businesses. And I was very shocked to see that, because you get a lot of great advice and information from them as well. But as I look to niche down even more within my business, it makes it a little bit easier as well, because every single city that you go to, there's opportunities. And most of the time, when you live in one city and you have a firm like mine, which can handle business anywhere, but when you're living in one city, you tend to just get localized with only the businesses that are in that area. Whereas for me, we just got to this city yesterday. I'm here for a week. I could sit here and just go pull doors, the old school style, and walk into businesses and just talk to them about what I do and how I could help their business. And so it opens up a lot of opportunities. Absolutely.
That's interesting. And I guess with always, I mean, certainly when we first, started the conversation prior to sort of, recording this episode, I mean, one of the things that, I found really fascinating about you was the story. And it was that reason for why would I be interested in Michael versus, a million, let's face it, doing what you and I both do. There are millions of others who do it, but it's always going to be the story around it, almost like, as I call it, the wrapper, around the core product or service. And that's the interesting bit, isn't it? I mean, and obviously for you, having streamed, millions and millions of been streamed millions and millions of times with your, your music, as well as obviously the traveling, there are lots of kind of interesting threads that kind of, woven together make Michael interesting above, many others. And I think for me, when it comes to building sort of online reputation, being found, and again, being liked and trusted, which is, where we're going to head the conversation, it is that kind of that wider remit, isn't it? It isn't just what you do and what you sell. It is the backstory, or however you like to phrase it. Did you find when you entering into conversations, either online or face to face, that it is people do have that curiosity? Because that was kind of my first impact of beginning the conversation with you. So I can't be alone in that, surely.
No, yeah. It all depends. There's some people that don't even catch it. They don't realize it. And I don't necessarily just throw it out there. If I'm talking with a new prospect, I don't, hey, by the way, but once they find that out, and there is a reason, and I kind of put it right out there on my website. If you go, my main tagline is turn your marketing into rockstar content. Now, obviously that's a little play because of my Black background and everything, but yeah, once people find that out, they naturally kind of dig into it. And there is a little bit of this, and I say this as humbly as possible. I've been very blessed. I feel like God has blessed my career with music and my life. And so there is a little bit of that at first. You're like, oh yeah, you're in a band. I'm in a band too. I've played guitar. And then they dig a little bit more and they're like, oh, I didn't realize you're in a band that has actually done X, and has done this. I'm like, yeah, I don't mean, like I said, to say this as humbly as possible. I've been very blessed and have been able to experience some very unbelievable things. But yes, it will come up in conversation once people realize it, and they want to ask a lot of questions about my background, and I think it brings a little bit of that realness as well, of understanding that it's I'm just like everybody else, and I'm trying to figure out how to be a business owner, and how to be a father, and how to be a husband. Every day I'm trying to learn how to be better in life, and I'm just like everybody else, and what I bring to the table to help them are things that I know that has helped my business. And so it's a proven track method that way, and they can see it. I mean, if I'm able to have my business rank, and I'm traveling full time, then surely I can help your business rank, and you're in your office every single day.
This is fascinating stuff. There's a really interesting kind of, I guess, dynamic going on here, because a lot of people that I encounter, and I'm sure you do as well, Michael, I mean, it is all about the sell. It's like, oh, my product or service is better than yours. Look at all these great features. Look, I can provide value. I can 10x your business, blah, blah, blah. The style that you're doing this in, though, and this is what I really want to delve deeply into, because when it comes to building reputation, either online or in person, there's something really, and use the word authentic, there's something really authentic about being modest, isn't there? Almost taking the other end of the spectrum from, hey, I'm going to sell you something, to actually, no, I want to get into conversation with you. I want to understand what you're at, where you're looking to go. I want to kind of build some value around our conversation and relationship, rather than I want to sell you this service, or you need to buy this product because it's the best. There's something really nice about the kind of the modesty that you described there. Is this, in your view, is this the more successful way going forward that we should be kind of considering our marketing, is from a point of modesty and humility?
I believe so. Yes. I really have a hard time, and I just had a recent conversation with a potential client, and he said that he had some other marketing firms, and they were guaranteeing certain results. And he said, will you do that? And at the initial thought, because you want to have that new business, and it's a potentially business transforming for me with the amount of clients that this person could bring in at once, you want to say, yeah, I can do that too. But I had to pause and I had to take a step back and just be like, hey, I don't want to make those guarantees, because there are so many factors that come in. Now, there are certain things within my business that I do that, yeah, I can guarantee you, because I have the data and the analytics that will back up to a certain point. But I can't guarantee that somebody's going to buy for you. What I can do is I can make it the best possible chance for those people that are going to be buyers to get to your door, or to, whether that's your online door or your physical door. I can give you the best possible chances for people to find you. Other than that, I can't guarantee that. And I believe that really struck with him. It really mattered to him because I was being honest, and I wasn't somebody that he had multiple quotes already, and they were all guaranteeing that he would have X amount of revenue. And I just don't think there's that's being honest when you are telling somebody that you're going to guarantee a certain amount of revenue, unless you have something that is going to sell for them, like an online store or e-commerce. You can easily track that and build out those funnels correctly, and there's certain ways you can do ads, but that's not typically what I do. And so in certain aspects, but I think just being real and being honest and just most of the people that I work with, most of the clients that I work with are small and medium-sized businesses. They don't have, they're handling, up to the point that they hire me, they've been handling all their marketing, all their digital marketing themselves. And when they hire me, I'm essentially becoming their outsourced marketing firm. I am becoming their arm. And so it's like hiring an employee. And so I am now working for their business, and I have to be able to represent them the best as possible. And it's not it's perception representing business X. It's the business representing themselves. And so I have to become that business. And so I truly believe that just taking a step back, being humble, really listening to what the needs are, because every business's needs are different in what they're trying to accomplish and who the people are that they're trying to reach. And so taking a step back and really listening to those needs, I think is extremely vital.
I've got a tag on my website that I tag certain content with. And it's mindful marketing. So it's like hashtag mindful marketing. I'm going to be tagging this conversation with that very phrase, because I think, to me, there's something really authentic here that's going on. And it really kind of resonates with my style of marketing, which is not about the shouting. It is all about the listening. I think, as an introvert, it's a natural way that I kind of operate. So I listen more than I talk. It's just personal preference, just the way I'm made. It's in the DNA. And I often kind of find myself working with organizations that kind of resonate with that. I suppose for lots of us, particularly entrepreneurs, small business owners, I've got a lot of marketers listening sort of on this podcast, but also I do get business owners. And I guess for a lot of them, listening to our conversation here, this will make a lot of sense, because the old school style of marketing and sales is very much, I want to sell to you, Mr. or Mrs. Customer, whereas actually the new style is very much about building the deeper relationship. So would you say, in terms of building this online reputation, it is about, in whatever way or sense that you find it most natural as a business owner, that the best approach is to begin by listening? If it feels that that's what you're saying here.
Absolutely. I mean, I 100% agree with that, and it goes for my clients as well. I've got a client right now, happens to be a restaurant. And they were a fairly new restaurant when I came in, and they were really, really struggling and thought that they were going to have to close doors almost immediately after only being open for a couple of months, because they had nobody there. And so they called me, and I started working with them. We've completely turned that around, which is fantastic. But in the midst of this, they've been open now for about 7 months, 6 or 7 months. And in the midst of this, as you know, with restaurants, people are not afraid to give their opinion on restaurants. They will, you don't have to go ask for the reviews. The reviews will come no matter what. And some of the reviews where it's an all you can eat restaurant, a lot of the reviews were, well, I wish there were other options and other than all you can eat, because I want to be able to I love the food, but I want to be able to grab this for lunch, and I don't have 2 hours to sit and go through an all you can eat. And so we saw this feedback coming in, and I'm the one that's handling, so I'm monitoring a lot of that, and I presented it to him. I said, hey, I know this is not the model that you originally wanted to go with, but you have a large market of people here that would love to come and grab your food and take it to go for lunch. And they noticed that the lunch numbers were down. And so all of those things were correlating. And so they listened to their client base. And so they came out with a quick little menu that has about 10 items on it, so they could capitalize on that. And once we announced that, the feedback from the people around that city was obviously overwhelming. It was, oh, this is so awesome. And so every single business needs to listen to their customers and listen to what their needs are and what their wants are. And it's really not that difficult. It's really not that difficult to hear what people want and what they need, and to find a way to tailor with that. That doesn't mean you have to change your entire business, but there are ways that you can cater to those other people that are looking for a specific thing if it fits within that realm of what you're already doing.
And I think the nice thing about this is it feels as though then you're building the reputation in the marketplace with your target audience on their terms, rather than it being, as you say, something you set out with this big vision, we are going to be this, but then having listened to the market, you get that feedback that's like, okay, well, we hear you, but actually what we really want is this. And if you do it on these terms, you do it on our terms, give us the value, and we'll define the value. You don't tell us what the value is. We as customers will define that value. Then we're going to see your reputation as something that we want to reward by coming to your restaurant or whatever kind of service you have. It feels like this is almost giving the reins over, or handing over the responsibility to the customer, which is a really nice way of building reputation, isn't it? Because then it's proper two-way.
Absolutely. And it's, when you do that, obviously, then the same way, like for this restaurant, now the reviews were always, for the most part, really great for this restaurant. But now the ability to show that, hey, we're not just coming in and we're going to disappear. We're planning on being here. We want to be part of this community, and we want to help give back to this community. And so we're going to listen to the community and try to accommodate. There's, it isn't a sushi restaurant, but like the sushi restaurant is a great example. I love sushi. My wife loves sushi, but I've got 2 little kids. They're not very keen on eating sushi. Well, if I have no options on the menu to give to my children for food options, well, you just lost that business for my wife and I, because we can't come eat there because we have to have options for our children, right? And I think that expands into just about any type of business that you have. So for instance, I'll use my own business. I'm a digital marketing firm that I have specific packages that I've created that has an online dashboard, custom dashboard. And that's my primary thing that I focus on when I talk with clients. It's about the being found, liked, and trusted, and using these digital tools to be able to do that, and to what level you want me to be involved compared to what you can handle. But then I do have clients that say, well, what if I don't want that? What if I just need you to build a website? Well, I can't say, well, I don't want to do that. Well, I'm already building websites within my packages. So then I just have to be open to be able to say, you know what, this is what the needs are of this client. And I'd rather do that while in the midst of educating them and giving them some free services and some free tips. Like, hey, I understand you don't want these certain things. Let me just point you in the right direction, because I want this website that we build for you. We're going to build you a Lamborghini of a website, and it's not going to be worth anything if nobody can find the website. So I understand if you don't want to go with one of the packages, but let me at least give you some tips that will at least increase the chances of people finding your website, because we're going to build you a killer website. Same thing with social media marketing. And some people just, they just want some direction. They still want to handle it. And so I do consulting as well, where I just simply meet with them 2 to 3 times a month, and I consult with them and talk about what's going on, where they're trying to head. And really, and a lot of that is just asking questions. Or what are you trying to do? Well, I want to be able to bring in 10x more clients. Well, how do you want to do that? Well, I want to be able to do that by doing this, and just really narrowing down to really understanding what they want to achieve, and helping them understand the things that they need to put in place to be able to achieve that.
And when you're kind of listening to marketplaces and customer feedback, I guess one of the most, well, in recent years anyway, one of the most significant sort of areas of feedback, I guess, in most sectors is influencers and influencer marketing. Obviously, for a lot of us, running consultancies and agencies and content production has become a thing, because if you're not listening to the trends of the influencers, you're kind of you're flying in the face of the wind. You're trying to, do some stuff that actually the market's going in one direction because of influencers, and you're trying to head off in a different direction, or still maintain, a constant fixed course, where of course, for most of us, that is just not the reality. I mean, it is really popular, obviously right now in most sectors. I mean, should all businesses use influencer marketing in their mix, do you feel?
I do. I believe to some level, of some extent, they should. And what I mean by that is you don't have to go out and find the A-lister, Tom Cruise, Taylor Swift type of person to necessarily be the influencer that's going to help your business, because obviously those types of people are going to cost a lot of money. But in your city, in your own little town, wherever you are, there are people that are influenced. Your local news person, your local political head, what governor, senator, mayor, those type of people, the chamber type of people. There are people that are influencers that carry a lot of weight with where they go, where they do business. And people ask them constantly, hey, do you know of anybody who does X? And if you can utilize them, once again, I'll go back to the restaurant model. If you can call them up, say, hey, we're going to offer you a free meal, and all we need you to do is come in, enjoy the free meal, and just give us a shout out on any of your social media platforms, and tell them how, maybe do a quick little video while you're here, that type of thing. That will go a long way. So there's different levels of influencers that you can use, but I believe 100% that you can utilize people, you can find people, and that will help your business. And I'll even add this too. A lot of people tend to forget that even your everyday normal customer is an influencer. And this kind of goes to the whole thing, going back of the found, liked, and trusted. The liked and trusted piece of that is, if you're not actively asking for reviews for your business to get those 4 and 5 star reviews, so that when people are searching for a type of business like yours, and then they come across yours, and compared to the top, other 2 or 3 that are there that have 7, 8, 10 reviews, they see your business and it's got 50 to 100 or more than that reviews, and it's 4 or 5 stars. that's influencing the person who is looking for a business like yours to immediately click on yours because they see that other people like your business. So if you're not actively going out and requesting those reviews, then you need to do that as soon as possible. Get as many reviews as you possibly can for your business.
This is great advice. And I think, it's all about the outcome, isn't it? Ultimately, we can talk all day about, always it's all about value, and it's all about, building the little nuances of the relationship and building community and getting the right influence. Ultimately, it is about the reviews, and it is about, the reputation has to be evidenced. And I think, you're very clear about that, Michael. It's really, really, good for everybody to hear that. Is you've got to see the evidence to be able to know that you're actually on that journey and making a difference, which is great. If somebody's doing this either in their own business or, they're a marketer for maybe a larger sort of corporation, for example, there can be a sense of, because, we're all under financial pressure in whatever size of business, there can be a sense of urgency, I guess. What's your view and your take then in terms of building reputation, but with the new kid on the block, AI? Because a lot of this building reputation through the advantages of things like ChatGPT and other services are available, is very much around that I can scale this because, AI can just enable me to go 10x, 20x, 30x and just really kind of race to the finish line. What's your view on this? Is it kind of too much, or can we really embrace this and still retain this sort of reputation quality that we're talking about?
Yeah, I believe you can, and I would advise anybody who is wanting to put up a wall and say, well, I'm just going to I'm not going to get into AI. I'm not going to learn about it. Sort of like what you alluded to earlier about trying to just stick to their guns and say, this is the way I am, and I'm going to stick to it. For some businesses that have been established and have been around for 100 years, they can do that, right? But for most businesses, they need to really embrace AI. And that doesn't mean that you have to turn in your entire business upside down and rely completely on AI. But if you're not learning and understanding how AI can help your business and make some of the tasks that you're already doing quicker, faster, and have a lot more data coming in utilizing that, then I think you're going to get left behind. It's not going anywhere. It is here to stay. There's just it's revolutionizing every business out there, and so you really need to embrace AI and figure out a way of, like I said, you don't have to flip your business completely upside down to force it to work. But I can guarantee you, there are ways that AI can help your business. The biggest thing for you to do is to figure out in what aspects can this help me. For us, we've integrated AI into our social marketing tool. We've integrated AI into our reputation management tool, so that when you go in and you're wanting to manage all of those reviews that are coming in, you can quickly click a button and AI will read the review and immediately give a suggested response to that based on exactly word for word of what that person wrote. And so you don't have to think about for 10 minutes, what's the best way to reply to this client. It will suggest a very thoughtful response. You can quickly read it, make a couple quick edits, respond, and now you're on to more revenue generating tasks, and you're not sitting down and working for hours on trying to figure out what's the best way to do this, what's the best hashtag for this. There's just so many ways that AI can be utilized within your business. So I highly recommend that people don't try to put up a wall and block it out. It's not going anywhere, and it's that tool that your competitors are using, and they're going to use it to their advantage. And if you don't do it, then your business will get left behind.
I think there's a real comfort from my perspective there in the way you describe that. So it isn't necessarily the end game in itself. it is a tool that you can use as part of your, I guess, efficiency there, because you're talking about taking the first draft of the response, and then it's about carefully reading it, making the edits, and then publishing. So it kind of becomes part of the process rather than, oh yeah, that takes care of everything for me. I like that, because again, we've got another hashtag mindful marketing moment here. There's something really kind of wholesome about that approach. So it's part of the team, as it were, rather than being, okay, well, that's that particular task done. So actually we've got a robot or a machine kind of dealing with our reputation and how we manage those communications. Actually, it's not. It's just part of a process. So it enables you to be more efficient, but there's still the human element there.
Yeah, you nailed it. That's what I was about to say. You cannot take the human element out of the interaction with your clients. And so it's very vital that you still keep that in mind. But the AI, I could talk about this for a long time. The amount of tools and things that are out there, and it's so interesting. I mean, even little things. I love there's not a whole lot of this that I do within my firm, but I love playing with the brand new Photoshop that's out there and the AI tools, because I think it's absolutely amazing how I can take a tiny little picture and I can expand it, and then I can just tell Photoshop now to fill in the rest of it, to expand the picture, and it does it. And it's the results are amazing. And so you can't take the human element out of it, but yeah, you can absolutely figure out ways of how AI can help your business run more efficiently. And once again, going back to the fact that we're talking about small business owners and that are trying to wear a lot of hats, right? Circling back to what you talked about earlier, when you're trying to wear a lot of hats, there are certain tasks that you still may be handling on your own because you haven't found that person that can take that off your plate, but you need that task to be done as quickly as possible. And so there are those types of things that AI can come in and help and be able to make those processes faster so that you can get back to worrying about more revenue generating tasks.
There you have it, people. This is the advice you needed. And what I'll sort of finish now by saying is that Michael has been very, very kind. Michael is always very modest in terms of what he's able to provide and the skill set and the knowledge that he has, which is incredible. But what Michael has actually offered up here is the opportunity for you to contact him, if you're listening to this, through his contact page on his website, perceptioncontentmedia.com. And this is an opportunity, and this is a little bit of an exclusive. So I'm very grateful you've provided this link for us, Michael, because you can there's a form on there to set up a consultation with Michael. So you can actually request to carry this conversation further if you're looking for any of the help that Michael's been talking about here. And this comes from somebody who really does manage their online and wider reputation very, very successfully. So, Michael, this has been an absolute treat. And I think, I've got a lot of ideas here in terms of how now I'm going to be sort of embedding a lot of this stuff in the narrative that I talk about. So, yes, I'm going to be pushing people, I think, in your direction, if not only to get advice and guidance for how to live a nomadic lifestyle very successfully as well. So it's been absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I'll even put this out there as well. So in the line with everything that we do, my wife and I, we record all of our travels, and we have a YouTube channel for that. So if anybody's interested in seeing all the beautiful places that we're going, you can watch that. It's called A-List, A-L-I-S-T, A-List Adventures. And we're on YouTube, and we've got our own YouTube channel for that. So if you want to see that part of my lifestyle, then you can go to YouTube and watch that as well. But I will say this, Noah, as well. I appreciate you having me on your podcast. And for any business owners that are out there, if you're interested in seeing how your business is viewed online right now, anybody who contacts me and puts your podcast into the comments, I will offer them what's called an online presence report. And it's a report that shows exactly how your business is currently viewed online. And typically that's a $500 report that I charge, and I'm doing it for any of your listeners for free.
Michael, that is so generous, and this is really valuable stuff, everyone listening. This is the kind of information that you really need to know, but you have to listen, because if Michael actually tells you something in terms of the feedback, you need to listen, because this could be changing the way that you communicate, but it will be building your online reputation for sure.
100%.
So that is great. That is great stuff. Thank you so much again, Michael. I'm going to let you go because I know you're a very, very busy person, if only to go off hiking or, traipsing into the wilderness that you're enjoying so far. So I'm very envious, can you tell, in terms of your lifestyle.
Well, thank you so much, Neil. I really appreciate you having me on.